O flame within the soul, rise and pulsate. To be or not to be, posed as a question, brings mankind a challenge which we shall see as to whether or not they can solve. They have been given the snow from the mountain as the mellow water of life. They have been given the purifying fires, and they have asked for and received our assistance since time immemorial. Now let us find out of what substance men and women are made of. Those of you who understand truth are aware that mankind is made first of all of the God flame, which state is unalterable. But when we speak of the material of which a man or a woman is composed, we speak of those graces which they themselves have externalized and consider graces of worth. Graces of worth that will stand the test of time. It is one thing to invoke the flame of the Godhead and let that flame blaze. It is still something else when man becomes self-dependent, to stand upon his own 2 feet and to recognize his own responsibility. This is a portion of the gift of life. For when men have the gift of life, they are expected to use it. This is the gaining of other talents, of other facets of wisdom, of other strengths, of other joys, of other magnificence than that which they have deemed magnificent. For there are hidden reservoirs of divine strength in the universe which are available to all. Simply because men do not know how to tap these magnificent sources of strength is no excuse. For had they listened, had they removed from their ears the wax and those conditions which we consider stultifying, they would long ago have recognized their solemn responsibility and not have become so brittle and so utterly dependent upon us. Perhaps it may sound to you as though all the hosts of heaven are actually arrayed on your side and standing with you. Quite so. But let me point out another factor, and that is that we love the children of the light who stand upon their own 2 feet and resolve their own problems, and then come to us when they are unable to act for succor, for assistance, for a glimpse, a further glimpse of reality. Tempus fugit. Time flies indeed, but where are those who will make good use of it? Where are those who will summon the will to respond when the requirement is given? Let us hear from them as they have sought to hear from us. For man also has many stakes to gain, many stakes that amount to stars in the crown of his own individual being. And when I gaze upon the record, when I perceive all that man can do if he summons the will to do it, I am determined that more individuals upon the planetary body shall rise subject to their own steam and electrical power. For those who do so are the strong ones, the magnificent ones, the ones who have seen the face of God and lived as He directed them. Those of us who have gazed upon the magnificence of the appearance of the Christ are well aware of what man can do when he determines to align himself with the fervor of the sacred fire. The sacred fire. Well, if you consider it sacred, O mankind, as I do also, then it is just about time that you will depend upon it for many things and not just for a few things. Wit is given to man to be used. Courage is given to man to be used. And a multitude of gifts. When men understand that they have these gifts, do they expect to cast them aside as useless baggage? How many graces are resident within human souls? And where did they secure these graces? The mere fact that they are in their possession should be ample, for responsibility is a gift, and that gift is ennobled through use and the sharpening of individual mankind's wits, in coping with the enemy, in putting the powers of darkness in their place. In the name of heaven, beloved mankind, do you think simply because you are fatigued from day to day over things of the world that you cannot arise and give your energy to the light when the light requires it, for a planet, for mankind, for others? I am certain that you can. We did. When we were embodied upon earth, many times we were empty of any possibility of assistance. Yet we drew upon our resources. We were able to summon them by an act of will. We initiated courage and carried it forth. We have insisted upon this in many of the students. And now I watch them as they walk tall and stand straight. I watch them as they draw forth for themselves those cosmic actions that feed the universal fires. They are not, as it were, dependent upon any of us, for they have created their own fires and strengths, and they offer to us their energy. The student body throughout the world have long depended upon our assistance, which we have been most willing to give. We have been chastened of late by the great karmic lords ourselves. For the great karmic lords have said, is this display of your strength in any way conducive to the betterment of humanity? Are humanity raised by it? Or do they merely use your energy and dissipate it on senseless pursuits, upon their own lusts and upon their own confusions? The answer is yet not clear. In some cases, I am certain that individuals subscribe to our banners without actually raising them. It is very easy for mankind to express a desire to cultivate goodness upon earth. In some ways, it almost resembles Androcles and the lion taken from Shaw. But humanity fails so often to understand that support given from higher octaves is not without anticipated compensation. For years now, for decades, I might say, in many cases, the masters for centuries have given their energy to embodied mankind only to find that mankind have literally spilled it upon the ground. They have discoursed with one another in inharmony. They have argued concerning the most sacred truths, and they seem utterly unwilling to harmonize themselves for a purpose. Let us summon mankind then, I said to the Karmic Board, and let our summoning be one memorable experience. Too long have we coddled them. Too long have we blessed them with our energy without creating in them some great cosmic fervor that will blaze to the farthest star. It is time, mankind, that you recognize the tremendous power that you have received already in the simplest manifestations of life. The summoning of these powers, the summoning of your own powers, when put together, totals quite a sum. Indeed, I am astounded sometimes to see the idle motors of life and the number of people throughout the world who stand behind the idea of constructivism. Oh yes, they would support every movement in heart, or so they say. But when it comes to the practical aspects of standing behind the movements of light, they seem to gingerly turn the other cheek, as it were, to heaven and look the other way right at the supreme moment when they are needed most. What shall I say then? Shall I commend them still further and say, we approve of what you do? Not so. The time has come throughout the world when we ought to make mankind aware of the tremendous disparagement that they create when they continue to feed the negative assets of the world and deny to the great positive powers of light their strength in the support of those cosmic endeavors that could change the family of nations into families of light at will, if mankind would only understand that this is the will of heaven, and that embodied mankind are the beneficiaries of much of this, and yet seem in many cases unwilling to even consider the smallest act that they can perform that will have real meaning in the world, because it will create greater awareness in the world of divine principle. O mankind, what shall I say as I gaze upon the record? When I pause to see the tremendous investment of cosmic energy which heaven itself has made in life, and then I see the very little investment of cosmic energy coming forth in return, and then I pause to consider that after all, the only reason heaven expects any return at all is so that mankind may be further benefited. Is this clear to you? I hope that it is. For the chinks in the human armor are many, and the dust that blows through these chinks carries pollution into inner realms, and men stand midst dusty confusion when in reality they could behold the icons of the Christ upon the wall of consciousness just as easily as they could behold and do behold the gremlins of negativity and the words, "It cannot be done." Why can it not be done? Simply because men and women are too lazy to summon the will to do it. This is why it is not being done. They have energy for everything else, but very little for those spiritual achievements that will enable the brothers to raise mankind In the name of heaven, beloved ones, what do you think happens when mankind who have free will deny that free will to heaven? Why, you cut off the entire stream of benefits to the earth by the mere refusal to do sometimes the simplest act that would have initiated a grand cycle in the cosmic scheme. And I have seen this over the years, and it has utterly collapsed some of the best plans which heaven has laid for mankind and made so carefully before it released it in the first place. How do you suppose Lord Maitreya feels? How do you suppose Lord Gautama feels? How do you suppose your beloved Jesus feels, who has again and again sponsored embodied humanity, when he beholds, as does Kuthumi, the world looking the other way, right when the hands of heaven are reaching out to bestow the greatest benefit? What more shall I say? Shall I say nothing? Nay, this I cannot do. For unless mankind become chastised by our love, they may well develop that complacency which will utterly put them to sleep. The sleep of man's reason, the sleep of man's strength, the sleep of man's benefits. For all is lost unless this generation is able to perceive the missing link between their God self and their human self. I do not expect actually that the entire earth will accept this, that the entire earth will see it. But I do expect that some of you who have over the years developed a more than ordinary devotion toward our consciousness will understand at last that it is not a matter of our appreciation or our failure to appreciate what you have done, but it is a matter of summoning greater energy to meet the tremendous gap in human consciousness and human achievement. Human achievement, while it may be great from the term of skyrockets and skyscrapers, is very low from the standpoint of true spirituality. Will you face this with your whole consciousness of cosmic fairness? Will you dare to tell me tonight that embodied humanity have laid upon the cosmic scales a balance worthy of mention? I do not think so, and I do not anticipate that some of you will call me beloved. You may say, as some have said, the gruff old master MORYA has spoken again, and we hope he won't speak for a long time again. This does not matter to me, for I am concerned with those babes and souls and those blessed people throughout the world who need and require the aid and succor that you and the brethren of light the world around can give. Only by a steadfast, clean burning flame are we able to actually produce that purification in the body of mankind's consciousness which the hour demands. You hear about the foolish virgins. Well, beloved mankind, must men continue generation after generation to create the same mistakes? I hope not. And so, as I come to address you this night, it is to leave stirring in your memories those concepts that will stir you to the uttermost to do and to be a focus of the will of God. For only a genuine focus of the will of God can transform the world. Men love the flame of comfort. They love to be comforted. It is almost as though the memory of the cradle and the arms of the mother are so loved and the arms of maturity so despised, because they mean that man must sharpen the flame of the mind, that man must sharpen the flame of the will, that man must sharpen the fires of the heart and summon from the heart of God those magnificent and masterful energies which will take command of the world's situation and free mankind at last from all of these insipid actions of humanity which have divorced him from the realities of God and hidden from him the power of the Divine Mother, who would give him, if he would accept it, the power to wrought change in his generation in every way. What do you think your decrees are then? Are they just the mouthing of vain words, that these vain words will go out into the world, or just into the room? Well, if you believe that they will go out into the world, and you believe that they are not vain words, in the name of heaven, utter them as though you meant them. For then they will begin to determine effectively that a change ought to be wrought in the world order, and you will see that change manifest before your gaze. Function in this manner and say, beloved presence of God, please help us. And watch how little help you will get, even though the sentiments and the respect may appear to be genuine. For I can say to you that when you step with the foot upon the rocks of life in a gingerly manner, surely you can easily fall off the rocks. But when there is sure-footedness and a determinate response that must evoke newness of life in the multitudes, then, beloved hearts of light, the great summoning has brought the great response. And none of us mind giving our energy. None of us mind giving our counsel. None of us mind giving our benediction. None of us mind anything that we can do to further mankind in their development. Awake, thou that sleepest, is the cry. Did not the Christ also rebuke his disciples because they slept? This quality of mankind's sleepiness has spanned the millenniums. If it has spanned the millenniums, don't you think it is quite an unhealthy momentum? Well, let's do something about it then. Let's determine now that each of you shall make his own God pledge and keep it, that nothing shall stand in the way of manifesting the acceptance of the mantle of opportunity. What do you suppose that opportunity is all about? Do you think that opportunity means that perhaps, maybe, yes, if this condition will take place, then that condition will follow. And so you set up a pattern of conditions, and you begin, in effect, to dictate to the deity. You say to the deity, I will do this if you will do this. And this bargaining with God is not an effective means of calling forth that which he is already so willing to give. Humanity today are more interested in games than they are in the serious game of life. When souls are at stake and humanity's future stands before them as either full or bleak, what do you suppose they take? They choose bleakness and cast fullness to the winds. Man's error has existed far too long. It is time that the resolve be strengthened. People like straight spines in others. How do they like it in themselves? We shall see. We shall see who shall respond to my call. Who shall respond to the call from Darjeeling? We shall see who will say, MORYA, we love you. and then turn around and do everything upside down. We shall see. We shall see. And you shall see also. For if perchance, through the power of divine faith, you can recognize the need to cut yourselves free, I think the change that you will see then will be so magnificent, so beautiful, so filled with the wings of life and light, that the manifestation will surprise even the most advanced of you. Wouldn't it be nice for a change to surprise heaven? Let's do it. Let's have, in effect, beloved children of the light, a surprise party on heaven. Let's see if the record of preceding generations can be wiped out a bit, simply because embodied mankind determined that it shall be so. You would be quite surprised yourselves if you knew the tremendous amount of will and resolve concentrated in this room in which I am speaking. Yes, but having will, possessing it, and using it are two different things. Let us try. Let us try. Let us try. It may work even better than praying. I thank you. Prosit.